Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and I've heard that there are questions for a Herbert Erpaderp, and so I thought, being a bit of a Herbert Erpaderp myself, maybe I could provide some answers to those questions. Sounds good? No. Sure it does. Okay, first, some questions from Discord. Trekan Beluvic said, Rubicon announced some new releases. 2 of them are variants of the Centurion. Do you think you will buy both kits and then a third because you forgot having it? I have been waiting for that Centurion for quite a while now, and I'd been checking the web store somewhat regularly, and as soon as I noticed that it was available, I placed an order. I decided to get 2 Centurion 5.1s because, well, I just like that a bit more than the Mark III. I got 2 of the same kit because I thought it would be fun to have one regular tank and one with the dozer blade, and because why not, really? I wasn't really expecting the amount of kits they released in one go, and I did want to get them all, but obviously that would be kind of expensive. But I did pick up a couple of other things in addition to the Centurions, like the Tilly, SDKFZ-10 half-track, one of the Bedford trucks and one of the Dodge trucks, the one with the gun on the back, whatever that one's called. There are obviously going to be streams and then videos about those kits, so be prepared for some Rubicon goodness. ePhoenix Art said, if you took the 220-pound, 100kg auxiliary power unit of the M1 Abrams and applied it to a tank with a more conventional diesel engine, example Leopard Challenger Type 99, would you get the world's most fuel-efficient tank? In my opinion, fuel efficiency would provide a tactical advantage. Would you have fuel for a couple of gas-guzzling tanks, or save it for a dozen fuel-efficient tanks of the same capabilities? I don't think that would work. You might be surprised to learn that I'm no expert on the Abrams or any of its systems, but, and I am assuming here, I would imagine that the auxiliary power unit is really for keeping systems online without running the main engine. 100 kilograms isn't very heavy, at least as far as engines go, so I'm assuming that it's fairly small, and I don't think it would be the right kind of engine to replace the main engine in a different tank. Obviously, a more efficient engine is something that should be worked towards, both as a tactical advantage and because being wasteful is just stupid, but you do need to have enough power to run the tank, and I'm pretty sure an auxiliary power unit is just not going to cut it. M4 Sherman Addict said, do you wear a mask while airbrushing? It depends. If I'm spraying a base coat on something small, or just doing something real quick, not usually. I do have a fume extractor thing, and I feel like that will deal with it well enough. I would wear it for a longer painting session, or if I'm using something that isn't just plain old acrylic paint. Something that might have more harmful vapours like enamels and things like that. ePhoenix Art said, if you want to prevent a main battle tank from being captured by the enemy, why not have it password protected? That sounds like it would involve coming up with a more complicated system to lock the tank than a mechanical lock, which I assume they would have. I don't think a password would really stop somebody who was really determined. I mean, if you can't drive it away because of a password, it could probably just be put on a truck and towed away. M4 Sherman Addict said, look, all I'm going to say is, has anyone seen Herbert and the leader of the enemy in the same place? Why would I hang around with the leader of the enemy? They would probably just try to capture me or steal my wallet or something. That's why we've got the Derptopian Armed Forces, to keep the enemy away from me. Ratto said, Finnish Army eats pea soup and pancakes every Thursday. Japanese Navy eats curry every Friday. Is there a specific food for a specific day in the Derptopian Army? The Derptopian Army provides a number of menu options each day, and there are plenty of perfectly edible food items available. But to answer the question, Wednesday is pizza day, and there are many different toppings available. Even captured enemy receive pizza. However, their only topping choice is rocks. ePhoenix Art said, have you considered doing a video on a Snap-Tite, Snap-It, or whatever brand of snap-together model kits? Are they worth it for you to stick it to the glue god? I don't see why I would want to stick it to the glue god. The glue god is good. I haven't really thought about building anything specifically named Snap-Tite or Snap-It, but I'm not really against snap kits, so I might. I'm pretty sure the Bandai Star Wars kits that I've done count as snap kits, and a lot of the Zvezda ones are meant to be snap fit as well. Of course, I do still glue them because I want them to stay together forever, but I guess they count. Trekan Beluvic said, did you ever throw away a model because you didn't like it anymore, or for some other reason? I don't think I've thrown away any models, at least not on purpose. Not knowingly. I do sometimes lose things because, well, that just happens, doesn't it? But I guess that's not really the same thing. If I end up not liking a model, I'm more likely to just leave it on the shelf and not paint it or do anything with it. It hasn't really been a problem for me though. Martin Gotham said, "Why are your tank's guns depressed? Do they need therapy?" I see what you did there. You see, it's funny because sometimes words have more than one meaning. Ha ha ha! They do have access to the mental health care that they need though, so worry not. ePhoenix Art said, "How would you make your own Musou Dynasty Warriors game?" I don't think I would. I have no idea how to make a game, and I don't know anything about Dynasty Warriors either. It doesn't really seem like the sort of game I would be into, so if I was to make a game, it would be something totally different. M4 Sherman Addict said, "What companies for models, paints or tools would you recommend to avoid at all costs?" I don't know that there are really any that I think should be avoided at all costs. That seems kind of dramatic. Generally, I'd prefer to tell people what I like and have them try things for themselves and figure out what they do and don't like for themselves. I mean, pretty much all of that kind of thing is based on opinions anyway, and I'm not the sort of person who thinks their opinion is that important that I'd speak in absolutes and tell people what to do, if that makes sense. Happy Doggo said, "What are your opinion on the booby?" Do you mean a specific booby? You might have to elaborate here. If you just mean the booby in general, I think the booby is very good. In the YouTube comment section of last month's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Mark Ferguson said, "Thanks for answering questions from us non-patrons. Also, thanks to those who can afford to be patrons and keep Herbert from having to find a real job." I agree, and I do appreciate those who are able to support via Patreon, or Twitch subscription or whatever else. That's pretty damn cool. I feel like it would be kind of silly to only answer questions from people who pay though, especially since a lot of my answers are along the lines of, "I don't know," or just waffling that only sort of answers a question, if at all. Not that it's bad to not know something, of course. I feel like not enough people realise that not knowing everything is fine. Also, I feel like I would miss out on a lot of good questions and ideas if I were to paywall the asking of questions, so it's kinda dumb. I feel like this might be heading towards that waffling territory now. Yantima said, "What do you think of people who don't take a vaccine?" It depends, really. Some people can't take vaccines because of medical conditions and things like that, and that's fine. The idea is, obviously, that everybody else can be vaccinated, and it will reduce the risk of transmission for them. People who are anti-vax, whether COVID vaccine or other, are stupid. Especially the very special kind who thinks that the vaccine is going to make them magnetic, or is a government tracking device or something. This kind of idiot is usually happy to use their phone to blither on about how the vaccine will track you, and completely fail to see the irony. Then you get the other very special people with persecution fetishes who somehow think it makes any kind of sense to equate themselves being unvaccinated and therefore not welcome in some places with groups who actually suffered persecution like the Jews during the Holocaust. And then there's the religious folks who are all like, "Jesus was never vaccinated!" Fucking morons. I know you only asked about vaccines, but then there's masks. People who won't even do the absolute bare minimum to keep other people safe, like wearing a mask, are soft, fragile babies, and I think they deserve to go and experience some real tyranny. I see so many stupid takes on vaccines and masks and stuff like that on the internet, sometimes it makes me think we're just going to die out as a species, and maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Steven Tyler said, "If you could only be asked one question about one thing you could only do forever, what is that one and only thing you would want to be asked?" I wouldn't. The question is a bit confusing, but it sounds miserable and boring to only be asked about one thing ever. Do not want. I don't understand how anybody could have only one thing, interest or whatever. I guess I don't have an answer. Anyway, let's go and have a look at some of the modelling work that's been shared in the Discord community over the last month or so. Corned Beef shared this excellent King Tiger, and depending on the order in which the pictures are dropped into the timeline, you should be able to see, or will soon see, that this kit has a nice interior. This rather nice looking model is from Tacom and is in 35th scale. I think you've done a really good job of putting this together. It's not super obvious where the removable parts come off to reveal the interior, and that kind of thing can be tricky. As you can see, it's also been painted really well. Very nice work. Trekan Belovic shared this good strong Soviet BA-10 armoured car. This is the 28mm scale Rubicon plastic kit, and Trekan says that he bought this because he saw me do it, so I guess I could claim to be a good influence, because this is some very good work. I mean, it's all on Trekan really, but I think I'll take credit for being a good influence. This is a really fun kit to put together, and it's ended up looking really nice here, and I feel inspired to complete my own BA-10. Ratto shared this steam tank. I've always thought the steam tank was ridiculous, and of course awesome, though of course I'm thinking about the Warhammer Fantasy one, or whatever they call Warhammer Fantasy nowadays. This is pretty much the same thing, except it's a 10mm scale halfling steam tank for Warmaster Revolution. I'm unfamiliar with that, but if it includes the steam tank, it's gotta be cool, right? This is obviously a tiny little model, and it's been painted really nicely by Ratto, which, if you've seen Ratto's work before, isn't surprising, but it is always nice to see. Sneakyzaku says they've always wanted to play Battletech. I can't say that I know a whole lot about Battletech or any of the factions involved, but Sneakyzaku says this is the Free Razelhague Republic mercs, who aren't quite as wealthy as others and settle for whatever's on the market. And House Steiner. Is it Steiner or Steiner? Either way, this house has more money than sense, resulting in more eclectic groups of shooty mechs. These groups apparently don't see eye to eye, and I assume that their battles are numerous and glorious. All of these models were 3D printed, and I think they look pretty cool. I rather like the half blue half grey paint scheme too. Ecktank shared this flying machine. This is the Hobby Boss 48th scale A6A Intruder, and Ecktank has put it together in an interesting way with all of the folded up and opened bits, as well as tarps. And there's a bucket there too, so maybe this filthy plane is about to be washed. Ecktank says this is weathered to be a typical dirty navy plane, so maybe they like it that way and they aren't going to wash it. Either way, I think it looks really cool, and apparently it took somewhere between 130 and 135 hours of work. That's a lot of time, but it looks to me like it was time well spent. Sometimes you do just have to spend time if you want something awesome like this. Ecktank does post a lot of progress pictures on Discord, so if you want to see some of the steps this model took towards completion, why not drop by Discord and check it out. There's also a lot of other cool stuff there too, so why not? Graff Pudding shared these anti-air wheelie boys. Graff Pudding said that he'd decided to paint up some AA support for an upcoming swarm of patterns. And I have to say, while these are really cool, I'm kind of excited to see a pattern swarm. These are 15mm scale LAV-25ADs from Battlefront. A bunch of letters and numbers don't really mean a whole lot to me because I'm not that familiar with this kind of equipment, but it is an interesting looking vehicle, and it's been painted very well too. Keep up the good work. The Tourette's Gamer shared this Saint Chamond. Is it pronounced that way, or no, it's probably not Saint Chamond. Would you believe that this is not my first time not knowing how to say a thing? Yeah, I would believe that. Oh, alright, okay then. Anyway, I've always found the Saint Chamond to be quite interesting looking. It's like somebody dropped a pointy box with a gun on it onto some tractor tracks. Tractor tracks? That's what we'll call it. Good enough. This model is from Tacom, and I'm assuming it's in 35th scale. It looks really good, and it makes me want one for myself, and this is one vehicle I've never built. Maybe I should do something about that. Anyway, as you can see, this is really nicely painted. I quite like the black outlines on the camo scheme. I also like that the weathering isn't super heavy. And that'll do it for modelling this month. As always, a big thank you to everybody who shared their modelling work. And there is so much more than what gets shared here, so be sure to check out the Discord server if you want to see more. The link is in the description. And of course, thank you to those who ask questions. Without the questions, I would just be answering nothing, really, I guess, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Ask a Herbert Erpaderp will be back next month, so I guess you can take your time in getting your questions in, but do ask questions, otherwise there won't be another Ask a Herbert Erpaderp. Anyway, don't forget to do all the things like subscribing and checking out my Twitch streams, and if you want to see my videos a bit early, consider becoming a patron. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So, until then, be excellent to each other, have an amazing day, and thanks for watching. Farewell.